Hey, it's Justin Yelmark here, back with another episode of Cards and Talk. This week I have Dylan Zubel.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. This week we are doing a World Series review. So, do you want to give me your opinions on what the Dodgers did well to win it?
I think it was a mix of just clutch hitting by Betts and Seager, and then I think Kershaw finally broke the little playoff Kershaw thing that he has, where he hasn't been playing well. As I think it was game 5 or 6, I think it was game 5 that he was lights out. So I think it was a mix of great pitching and just clutch hitting and fielding.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I agree that Kershaw. I want to say it's not the entire postseason one, as he sold many games leading up to it. But I definitely would say he broke. He came out of his shell in the World Series and definitely was a big part in helping. I think Cody Bellinger was a little quiet, but was still a big part. Like the Rays were pitching around him, which led to their pitchers drawing up high pitch counts early on, and they got their starters out, which was huge. As I feel like what really truly won the Dodgers was having Seager playing great, Betts playing great, and Bellinger being there, being the great player he is. The Rays starting pitchers had to try and pitch around him, which didn't always work. And if it did, they got their pitch counts up fast, which led them to being out of the game. And the Rays bullpen is not the strongest, and so that's what resultantly one helped win the Dodgers the series.
I don't know. I mean, last time I checked, I'm pretty sure the Rays have one of the better, I think maybe the strongest bullpen in baseball. So I beg to differ on your statement saying that the Rays don't have the strongest bullpen. I think they have the number one bullpen in baseball without a question.
That is, it's arguable. I don't love a few other guys. I think some of them are a little overrated. I don't love it. What do you think the Rays did well to push that series to 6 games?
I think it was their pitching helped them a lot. Obviously, Randy Arozarena would have won MVP. He's probably the best player all postseason of any team. He carried them a lot, and just like all the little small ball for the team. The fact that a team has the I think 28th lowest payroll, playing against the team who had the highest payroll for 8 straight seasons, took a took that game to a six to took the series to 6 games is a pretty a pretty expectation shattering season for the Rays. I mean, yes, I had them going to the ALCS. A lot of people had them going to the playoffs, but the fact that they made the World Series, and so they made the World Series, they beat I think it was the Yankees and the Astros, two of the better teams in baseball. They also took the Dodgers, who are without a doubt, yes, they won the World Series, but also the best team in baseball. Probably the best starting pitching rotation as well. To 6 games just shows the future they have, and they were able to do all this with a tiny payroll. And I think his name is Wander Sander Franco or something. I forgot how you say his name. The number one prospect in baseball, right, being ready to call up. So I think this team's a lot of potential, and they're going to be very, very good next year. And this is even though they lost the World Series, it's still a W for their team.
I think it is a massive W, and they definitely over exceed expectations. Like they were, I had them losing in the first round in my bracket, as I thought that young Blue Jays team would just somehow overcome the odds and take them down. They overseed almost everyone's expectations. However, I see this as a bad thing for the future. As I don't know if you've seen the movie, but Moneyball, about the Athletics, how the Rays play it the same way. They lose their players when they hit free agency, as they want money, which they don't have. Randy Ozuna, he played great. He Before this postseason, people didn't really see him as a future star, or few people did. After it, he's probably one of the brightest young stars who's in the league right now. Give that 3 years, he'll be a free agent. He's gonna want to get paid. The Rays won't be able to pay him. And it's happening right now with Charlie Morton. They declined his option. He's gonna want more money. He's probably not gonna re-sign with the Rays. Like they're gonna lose one of their best players. They're already starting to lose players from that team, and will lose what I believe Wander Franco. Once he becomes a star, he's gonna leave for more money. And so when teams like the Rays and the Athletics in the movie, when they have a good team and they're playing good, they have to win it then and then. Otherwise, they're just going to fall apart and they're going to lose their players to free agency. So I think they oversee expectations, but I feel like the team will fall apart because of the not enough money to keep everyone happy.
That's fair. That's fair. I can see that. But I think that they'll figure out a way to increase their payroll because yes, they're a small market team. Remember, you also have to bring in the fact that the MLB basically doesn't have a salary cap, so you can sign whoever you want. Yes, you don't have a lot of money, but you don't have a salary cap, so you can go out and sign these big name free agents, keep your prospects for a while, extend them. Basically, what I think what the Rays are gonna do is kind of like what the White Sox did, where they just re-signed their I believe they re-signed all their prospects to 6-year deals, all these long-term deals for the future, when they were in Double and Triple A. So I think that's what the Rays probably should have done that, but the fact that, like you said, now they all made the World Series, they're all going to be bright future stars. They're going to want a lot of money once their arbitration ends. So I can agree with you on the fact that this is a win in the present time, but I lost in the future. But I think that they'll figure out a way to get past and succeed at another level by re-signing these players and signing more.
I fully agree. And let's say that the money ball situation does happen. They're able to keep this team for the most part. But in 2, 3 years, they're not going to be nearly as good as teams like the White Sox. The White Sox barely made playoffs this year, yes, but they had amazing seasons. And they have Luis Roberts just coming up who played amazing and he's going to be a stud. And then the Yankees, I don't think they're going to be ever win a World Series with their current team. If you follow my Instagram, I made a post about it, as they're too injury prone and not clutch. But they're still a big team, and if they go against the Rays early on, I could see them taking them out, like in a wild card game. And there's just a lot of up and coming teams in the AL right now. And I think the White Sox are about to run the AL for a long time, or the Twins. I feel like the White Sox and Twins are probably going to run the AL for the longest time in the next few years. And I don't see the Rays making another World Series unless they make it somehow next year.
I can see what you mean by the White Sox, but even though I am a pretty big White Sox hater, I still do think that they have the pieces. But the fact that they just signed a guy, their old manager, I think it's Tony La Russa,
Mm-hmm.
the first time managing in 10 years. I think he's 77, maybe a little bit younger, 67. But the fact that you have probably the youngest roster in baseball, some of the better prospects in baseball, and then you bring in this oldie, no offense to Tony, I'm sure he was, I mean, he won a couple of World Series, so he can't be that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But for a guy who's never managed in, I think, 9+ years, maybe 10+ years, to
It's
go
over 10
into
years. I know that. It's over 10 years.
yeah, I knew it was 10. I knew it was 10+. So you bring in a veteran who's going to be coaching a bunch of youngins. That's not a usually it's a good combination, but for a guy who hasn't managed in 10+ years to take over one of the better up and coming franchises in baseball, they just won't connect unless they figure out a manager who will fit that system. I don't see the White Sox succeeding in the next 5 years.
Here's my opinions on it. I think that it's either gonna go great or it's gonna fail miserably. I don't see there being an in between. I feel like how it's gonna fail miserably. He hasn't managed in 10 years. He's on the older side. The team's young. I agree. Like what you said. If it fails miserably, it's the reasons you said. But it could go well. Think about it. It's one of the youngest teams who doesn't have a ton of vets. You bring in someone who has won multiple World Series as the manager. He could be that vet that could push them over the edge. So it's either going to go great or horribly. We don't know. I didn't love the signing. I feel like they should have gone after someone else, but I also don't hate it as it could pan out very well for them.
I could have honestly seen the White Sox going to make a push for AJ Hinch. Yes, he did the cheating scandal, but he is now in the AL Central with the Tigers, who will be. I think they'll win. They'll win about 80 games next year. But if the White Sox want to succeed in the next 5 to 10 years, they needed to get a good manager who is going to be there for the length of the rebuild. A guy like AJ Hinch, who's going to be there for probably he'll be in Detroit 5 to 10 years, depending on how they do, maybe more. But if the White Sox wanted to win and win now, they sign a big name pitcher in free agency to pair up with Giolito and Keuchel. Yes, you could say Kopech, but he didn't play last year. Cease was whatever. He had more. I think he had more walks than strikeouts, even though he throws 100. But if you wanted to win now as a White Sox, you sign Trevor Bauer, you sign a big name free agent, a pitcher most likely, and you let your prospects develop. You probably get a new right fielder because Norman Rosara is not very good. You let him walk or trade him for prospects, and you sign a new manager like AJ Hinch or someone who's young and is going to be with the players for years to come.
Now, I agree with that would work. Or what they could do now that they've signed LaRusso as their manager, is like you said, let the right fielder walk, and then run a two-man outfield with Luis and another outfielder. As I've he could cover the ground. You get two very versatile outfielders. You could run a two-man outfield in right center and left center. It could be a risk, but then you also go out and have five infielders that could be a huge help. And then go out and sign a pitcher. Maybe go after Charlie Morton now that the Rays didn't accept his option. Maybe go after someone like him and build around that. Like they need another outfielder in right field to be good, or they can just try and do a two-man. It looked very funky and people would scold them, but it could work, and I can very well see that work for them alone. I think they're the only team that could pull it off.
I don't know. I mean, yes, Luis Roberts fast as hell, but the fact that he would have to cover probably, if you think about it, you put him in right center, and if you're gonna put a guy in left center, it's probably gonna be Adam Engel because he's the other fastest guy. But that's then gonna take away the arm of Eloy Jimenez and only have him at DH. But their DH can also be Evan Encarnacion, Jose Abreu, Yasmani Grandal. So by taking away that third outfielder, who would probably be Eloy Jimenez, you're also taking away probably one of the bigger power bats in your team. Doesn't have to be Eloy, but let's say Abreu wants to DH, you're gonna put Edwin Encarnacion at first, and you either have to choose between Abreu or Jimenez.
Well,
And by having the three outfielders, that's going to benefit you more because their defense was very good last year. Madrigal's fast and can field well. Anderson can field well. Moncada can field well. I expect him to have a breakout year next year. And Abreu can do it all. They don't need any infielders. They need a new right fielder and a new pitcher, and then they'll be good.
I agree. I mean, it's something they could try out. I'm not saying it will work. I'm saying with that team, they have the best chance of it working. And Eloy wouldn't have to go out of lineup. They still have to have 9 players on the field. He'd be playing up more like at the edge of the outfield. And so, like, if it's a short fly up, pop up. And so this is how it would be like you'd have you'd have your two outfielders be like playing deeper on the sides, and then like if it's anything in the infield, like just past it, you'd still have Eloy and like the back of the infield who can go and cover that. Like you're not taking it entirely out. It just that way, like if going for like bunt hits in the clutch, it'd be a lot harder against that White Sox team.
Yeah, but what would happen if, let's say, Byron Buxton's up? I'm just using him because he's got a lot of speed. What if he's up? You have your two guys, and you decide, because Byron Buxton usually pulls the ball, you're going to flip and put Luis Robert in left center and Engel in right center. Let's just say Engel because that's probably the two fastest guys. Mm-hmm. And he hits a rocket down the right field line. Then what happens? Well, how do you play that? Obviously you bring the guy over. That's going to be at least a triple. And with Buxton's speed, that's probably going to be an inside the park home run. So the only thing that's bad about running the two-man is the fact that a ball in the gap in center will be caught, but it's the fact that they have to cover they basically have to cover 1.5 positions each. They both take their right and left field, and then they both have to cover center. And I want to say Robert's 24, 24, 25, maybe a little bit younger. For the fact that you have a 24, 25, let's just say, and then like a 25-year-old in Angle, both guys trying to cover a lot of ground, it's just not going to work.
I'm not saying it's 100% going to work. I'm saying they could do it, and it'd be a risk for sure. But they might be able to do that.
Uh, I could see it, but I just don't think it works.
I don't know. I mean, we've been talking about a little bit about free agents, how the White Sox should do after it. There's another free agent in Justin Turner who I kind of like want to talk about. How he tested positive, but still went out on to celebrate. What are your thoughts on that?
You won the World Series. What are you going to do? Okay, you have COVID. Big deal. I'm not trying to downplay COVID. I'm just saying. Put this into perspective, all right, Justin? Your team wins the World Series after going to I think it was three straight, maybe, no, 3 out of the last 4 World Series that your team goes to. You lose 2 of them. You come in, yes, it's a 60-game series. You're not technically at home, but you're the home team. You come in, and to win the World Series, you test positive for COVID. You play. You get sent to isolation. Your team wins the World Series, and maybe your last season in that association or organization. My bad. Are you telling me that you're not going to go celebrate winning the World Series?
Okay, I'm not trying to downplay that achievement. That is his life's work. He worked all year for that. I'm not trying to downplay that. I'm saying he played amazing in the playoffs. He deserves to celebrate with his teammates. But there's also a global pandemic going on. All eyes are on the Major League Baseball. They started late. All eyes are on them. There are families who cannot see each other because of it. Most people cannot go and see their grandparents because of it. You have to be respectful about that. He should have stayed in isolation. I know it would suck and everyone would feel bad for him, but there's still a global pandemic going on. I get that it's his life force, and he definitely wanted to. But and if he did have to go out, which he could have not, he should have at least kept his mask on the entire time and not touched the trophy. They'll have the trophy next year. He could have touched it later. He could have touched. He didn't have to touch the trophy, and then he only took his mask off right when he was next to Dave Roberts, a cancer survivor, who's someone on the old side. He's probably the most at risk who's on the field. He's next to him, and he takes the mask off. He could,
Yeah, I see that, but
if he had to go out, which I'm sure most people would go out. I think he should have stayed back. You could have at least done it better, not touching the trophy, not taking your mask off. He could have done it better. He should have been better. I think he should be fined, and the Dodgers as an organization should be fined for that.
I totally disagree. It's a virus that has I want to say 98, maybe 99%, 99 point like 9 7 7 9 something like that, with a bunch of zeros before the 7 survival rate. And think about this: you work your entire life, everything. You don't see your family for months. You don't see friends for months. You don't see family for months. To play baseball, the game you love, and you've played your entire life, and you get paid to do it. Your team wins the championship. Yes, you have the virus, but the season's over. Now that the season's over, they can do whatever, and they can just go get the help they need. Let the man celebrate. They're playing college football. Yes, some of these people have COVID. I'm sure there are reports. I believe personally Graham Mertz played with COVID, and that's why there's a big COVID outbreak at the University of Wisconsin. But this man has trained his entire life for this moment. He was probably the 3rd best player on the Dodgers World Series run and in the regular season. For the fact that he's worked this hard to win a World Series, and then people are gonna diss him for cheering for being with his team when he won the World Series, it's just horrible. It's almost like people did not want the Dodgers to win the World Series.
I personally didn't want the Dodgers to win. I mean, they played great. There's a few things I want to argue on that. Like you said, he hasn't seen his family and friends for months. There are other people in the world who haven't done that and can't because people are being irresponsible like him. he should have stayed in isolation. I know it'd be hard for him, and most people would still go out. But I'm saying he could have done it better. And he honestly, it's not all on him. It's more on the MLB as a whole as not having that test back before the game started.
Yeah,
And
but
I also do not think he's a top 3 player on that Dodgers team.
no, he was a top 3 player in the playoff run. Not on the team, but on the playoff run. He played probably one of the bigger roles in that team. It's probably him, Seager, and Betts that played the 3 biggest roles. You could argue Kershaw, you could argue Buehler, but I think the leadership of Turner was just so much. And yes, I see what you mean. But people, I'm not trying to start anything. I'm just saying, yes, people haven't seen people for months. It's not months. It's more like probably a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I would say.
I would disagree with that. A lot of people, it has been the entire pandemic, haven't seen people.
Yeah, but
For some people, it may be weeks. For some people, it's months.
well, I
Every
mean,
situation's different.
yeah, that's true. Every situation's different. But I'm just saying that the man's won the World Series. He probably shouldn't have gone out. Or if he was going to go out, at least wear your mask, like you said. But I do think, going back to your original statement, there will be probably a minor fine on him, but not on the Dodgers. The Dodgers won't get fined because the Dodgers told him to stay in isolation. But
They didn't enforce it.
No, they didn't force it, but they told. I think they did try and force it, but they told him to stay in isolation. But he just thought because he won the World Series, he was like, just screw it. I'm going to celebrate with my team. Which, if I was in his place and I've worked my entire life for it, I would probably do the same because it's more of a once in a decade type of thing to win the World Series, probably once in a lifetime, maybe more.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it. He's worked his entire life. I wanted to celebrate, but I mean, I just, in my opinion, you can't change it. He should have stayed in isolation. He should have been more mature, and he just could have played it better, in my opinion.
That's true. Well, it's over now. Can't do anything about it, can you?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he did what he did. It's over now.
Yeah. Well, man's won the World Series. Gotta respect him for that. He played a big role in that team. He was probably like I said, the 3rd best player during the playoffs, but won the World Series. Now they go back, probably isolate him and everyone else just to be safe, and then play it from there.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna call it for this episode here. Thank you so much for coming on. I think it turned out great.
Thank you. I appreciate having me.
I'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.